Just right now.
In a swimming pool.
That's the hometown.
You know, I didn't have many people ever call. Maybe they saw it.
Enjoy getting out. Thank you.
Yes.
Always knew that persecuted the Jews. I didn't know. He said, better you should go for the school. I said, that's a true story. I don't remember who did it.
Okay, what you say, Sarah? I say, you say 4, I say 5.
If I could have your attention, we'll go ahead and get the meeting started and call to order. Today, I want to recognize Dr. Dolores Honey. She's representing the Missouri Southern Foundation. Thank you, Dolores, for joining us. And then Greg Carter is filling in for John Dumont today. So welcome, John. Greg. You have the minutes of the June 13th meeting before you. I'll accept the motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
By Governor Hirschman. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Linda, we'll start off with your report.
All right, well, good afternoon. We will be looking at the financial statements as of August 31st. And as we look at the cash graph, the cash balance at the end of August is at $12.9 million. And this is about $400,000 to $500,000 more than the prior year. The next thing that we take a look at is the statement of net position. And we have total assets of $179 million. We have total liabilities of $102 million, and this gives us net assets at $77 million. I also want to note that the month of September is the month that we make our semi-annual bond payment, and we have sent that payment off to the bank, and it was at $2.7 million. The next statement we will look at is the comparative statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. And we always compare the current year to the prior year, and we look at the difference column. Total operating revenues show a decrease of about $800,000. Operating expenses show an increase of about $670,000. Non-operating revenues show a decrease of $165,000. I do want to note on there, I made a note on the state appropriations money. Some of that has to do with timing. This year we are receiving STEM dollars, the $1.8 million appropriation, and that is being dispersed on a quarterly basis versus a monthly basis. And I am pleased to say that yesterday we received over $400,000 in our STEM appropriation, which was our first draw. So really nice to get that in the bank. And so again, that's just timing between the 2 years. The income before other revenues is at $15.7 million. Prior year was at 17.4, and so this is showing us a decrease of about $1.7 million. I also want to mention, as you know, we are going through the annual audit, and the auditors were on campus for a couple of weeks in August, and we are on track to be able to present the audit at the November board meeting as usual. I'll entertain any questions.
Are there any questions for Linda? entertain a motion to accept the financial report from the treasurer. Motion by Governor Plotnick, second by Governor Elliott. Is there any other discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries. Mr. Houston. Yes, sir. Do you have a report?
I do.
Would you like to give it up?
I'd like to. Let me talk about it. This is the lull before the storm, if you will, because talk about the residence hall. I told you before we had to build a new parking lot because the new residence hall is going to go on a parking lot that was in existence. So we had to replicate a parking lot, and we did so. That's done. Students are using it. It's running fine. We are pre-drilling about 184 piers right now. Drilling on the ground to determine whether or not there's any voids. And so once we get that determined, then it's easier for us to put it out to bid, and so we're not going to hit with any surprises. Final drawings will be complete, Darren tells me, this week. So that's a good thing. That means the project will be put on the street for bidding, and construction hopefully will start in October or November. This facility will house a little over 300 students when it gets finished in the fall of 21. That's when we're going to occupy this. Probably give a little more extensive viewing of the plans at the next board meeting. And an oldie but goodie. You know, I write something up on this project every time we have a meeting, but this time I have one sentence in bold. The city is still waiting on the mall theater to sign off on all the trail documents. We're still in a waiting stage. So Dr. Marble, I'm not so sure this is going to be done. It's not going to happen. That's it. We'll invite you.
He said he'd come back for the ribbon. Okay.
Good.
Out of the nursing home.
Any questions?
Are there any questions for Mr. Houston? Thank you for the report. Now from Athletic Director, Mr. Bruggeman.
Thank you very much. I'll be very brief. I will hit a couple things here. One is regarding our men's and women's cross country, and we kind of just mentioned it when we were at lunch there, but it's the 30th annual Southern Stampede on the Tom Rutledge Golf Course, and between the high school and the colleges, we're expecting about 3,000 competitors. Currently the men are ranked 6th nationally, the women are ranked 17th, and we won the first meet of the year, both the men and the women, and we also had the individual champions who were also named in the MIAA at the end of the week, so it's pretty exciting to see what's going on for cross country. In addition to that, we will be, believe it or not, basketball starting up, and so we're in the middle of football, early part of the football season, and we're already getting into basketball, but the men are currently ranked 4th nationally in the preseason polls, and we do have our media day coming up here October 9th up in Kansas City at the College Basketball Hall of Fame. A few events going on. We have some alumni events coming up with the athletics department. We have a baseball alumni reunion, including a golf tournament this weekend. We have the cross-country alumni and track and field reunion on Friday night. And then we have a soccer alumni reunion September 27th to 29th. And we have an all-class for football, all the grades or years of football. We're going to have a reunion over homecoming, so that's pretty exciting with those things going on. We also have a watch party on Sunday for the Chiefs-Ravens game. As you know, we do have an NFL player, Brandon Williams, will be in there. There's actually going to be a welcome video from him from the Ravens. He'll be playing at the North End Zone, so you're certainly invited to watch that game there and enjoy that as well. So that is on Sunday. A few number-wise things, I guess, our linebacker membership, based on year-to-date, is up. So we're pretty excited about that, including when we start getting into basketball. We know that we'll have a lot more people joining as well, so we're pretty excited about that. And just as a kind of a mention with the cross-country course, we did talk about the Stampede, but we're also hosting the conference championships, the MIAA conference championships this year. We're also hosting the Section 4 Misha cross-country championships, and we're also hosting the NCAA regional this year. So the course gets a lot of use, and it fills up the hotels, and it's good for the economy, and we love the opportunity to do that. So otherwise, I have a lot more information in the complete report if you'd like to look through that. But otherwise, that concludes my report.
Good, thank you, Jared. Are there any questions for Jared? Governor Elliott was telling me at lunch that's the first road win for the football team in 5 years.
was fun to watch. So it was nice to watch.
Congratulations to everyone involved there. All right, anything else for Jared? Dr. Hodson?
Good afternoon. You have a copy of my report in your packet. Last Friday was Census Day for us to count head count for the fall 2019 semester. We had 5,604 students enrolled on that day, which is a decrease of 6.7% from last fall. You'll recall that we had budgeted for a 5% decrease, but a good economy sort of pushed us past that mark a little bit. But I do appreciate all the efforts of the faculty and staff and my colleagues on President's Council making those last-minute pushes to get as many students enrolled as possible. I also want to acknowledge Michael Sanders is here, the Dean of Admissions, and the admissions office had two really good metrics this year. One was an 11% increase in the number of applications received, and the second was a 12% increase in the number of students admitted to the institution. And so I do want to acknowledge the good work of the staff in that area facilitating those two increases. On the back of the second page at the top, I do want to point out a few key metrics for the development office over the last fiscal year. We saw a 10% growth in the number of donors. For the first time in the university's history, scholarship dollars awarded to Missouri Southern students surpassed $1 million. And total funds transferred to the university grew by 12.5%, or $300,000 to $2.65 million. And so again, growth in fundraising, growth in the work of the foundation made it a very, very good year for both the development office and the foundation. Right below that is an interesting piece of information about a matching gift campaign. We had Brandon Weaver, who was a graduate of the class of 2013, come forward and offer to provide a matching gift for fiscal year-end giving. And so we ran a special campaign through social media using his match as a catalyst, and we received 93 gifts totaling $21,710, which was a 542% increase from the previous year's fiscal year-end campaign. So I want to acknowledge Brandon's generosity and the response of the alums to his offer. And finally, under fundraising, you can see their prospect identification. One of the benefits of being a Blackbaud customer, and they are the provider of our Razor's Edge database, is that you can use something called Target Analytics, which helps you identify prospects. And so for the first time since that database went live in 2017, we sent our alumni and friends through that Target Analytics system and identified 1,600 individuals that the data would suggest, based on different data points, are capable of making a major gift, and 1,200 individuals who are likely to make a planned gift. And so prospects are the lifeblood of fundraising. And so identifying those new prospects will give the major gift officers and other folks lots of targets over the coming months and years, and we're in the process of evaluating those to prioritize them. I'm glad Dr. Honey is here because the Missouri Southern Foundation did have a clean audit this year for the 5th year in a row. There were no findings in our audit. This is quite a distinction when you consider that we process 6,000 individual gifts a year. We cut 1,500 separate checks to vendors on behalf of those donors, and so I want to acknowledge the work of the staff, the foundation board, all the people that helped make that audit possible. And then finally on that page, we did conclude our search for an outsourced chief investment officer to invest our portfolio, our endowment. That was a 6-month process that involved numerous meetings, numerous evaluations of proposals. We did end up going with the Fund Evaluation Group out of Cincinnati, Ohio. It also represents a shift in philosophy. We have traditionally been managed by local bank trust departments. We now have a dedicated outsourced chief investment officer that will be leading our portfolio decision-making through the investment committee. And I do want to acknowledge the 4 individuals that were part of the OCIO search subcommittee. Brian Val, Scott Boudreau, Patrick Scott, and Russ Alcorn were members of that committee. And then finally on page 3 at the top, you can see we did bring on 4 new board members to the Missouri Southern Foundation: Beverly Block, Darren Burr, Perry Davis, and Vicki Miesler. We are slowly working towards a board of 35 members. We think that's the number we need to staff our committees, to have the representation we need from our donors and our friends. And so this gets us to 23, and we continue to add more each year to work towards that 35 number. Mr. Chairman, that's my report.
Thank you, Dr. Hudson. Are there any questions for Brad? Thank you. Dr. Carson.
Thank you. I am very glad to be starting the new academic year with all of you. Really excited to see you. I apologize for my absence in June. I was at National History Day, so I'm really pleased to be back. I also want to thank the new Academic Affairs Subcommittee for enduring so much academic talk, for supporting us. So, a couple of things, since I haven't been with you all in a while, we have brought on our new cohort of faculty members. We have 24 faculty members, all of which are really extremely proud of. I actually have Mr. Eric Wolf here in the audience. He's our new department head of theater. So they have been very engaged, very supportive. We had our very special city tour and orientation with them this year, and already fully engaged in campus. If you want to know a little bit more about them, there is at your place out handout called Welcome New Faculty, and it talks about their academic credentials, a little bit about them coming to us. So very, very pleased with the recruiting efforts and appreciative of our current faculty for working so hard to bring in new academic talent. As you know, it's the Oceana semester. There have been many events already. There is a schedule of events right in front of you. They have been really tremendous. We have been talking about this Oceana semester in all of the different geographical areas and countries that it includes, but as always, it continues to grow. I think the events have been really well attended, very outstanding. Real excited to know that Chad's gonna make the local presentation to you on this semester, and we'll be joined by Dr. Jason Willen and Jim Lyons still to talk a little bit about the offerings that they have for Oceana. So I mostly want to make sure you got the schedule and to really make sure you know that you're welcome to attend anything and everything, including the films. Our Perkins Grant success continues to be really phenomenal. This year, and I just literally learned this last night, this year we were awarded every single Perkins Grant that we applied for on this campus, which is really just very phenomenal. So we learned last night we got support for another $29,000 project in dental hygiene. So over the past couple of years through our grants, we've been awarded about $300,000 cash. And that has all been used to augment our equipment, pretty much all equipment, new areas. This year our big purchase is a $50,000 X-ray machine that is much needed in our radiology program, and another $25,000 of X-ray machines for dental hygiene. But we recently had the ribbon cutting for the ambulance simulators that was funded. You've perhaps seen a lot about our K-9 program as part of our law enforcement academy. That equipment was funded out of these grants. So really excited and appreciative to be able to continue to grow our research foundation as well as our grants. Also very pleased that we ended last year with a phenomenal increase in the number of graduate degrees. So we have the numbers there. In May of 2019, we awarded 54 graduate degrees. The previous year, we awarded 27, and just 2 years ago, we awarded 18. So that is exponential growth in the number of graduate degrees that we have offered. We continue to be very excited about the development of new programs, interdisciplinary programs where you don't necessarily have to have a predefined baccalaureate major in order to be able to participate. That is what this community has always asked for, opportunities to continue their lifelong learning in ways that are open and accessible to people from a variety of different industries. So we're very excited to do that. I'll look forward throughout the course of this academic year to introduce you to some of our new graduate programs, graduate degrees, masters, but also our certificates. Our certificates are those co-earned career-ready credentials that are recognized by the state of Missouri. Our faculty has so enthusiastically embraced this idea, and it's led to so many innovative ideas. So we have over 30 now. We awarded in May 127 certificates, so that is significantly up from what we've historically done. And the real value is to our students who have an augmented credential that they can take out and show in the workplace, and it really helps them to focus on most efficiently using their electives. So it's very much been a win-win. You may have noticed that Drury University over the past couple of months had a lot of publicity for their revamped Gen Ed. And although they can call it their revamped gen ed, it's exactly what we're doing with these certificates. And so we're very pleased to be able to offer these to our students. Summer was very busy for physical plant and not easy with this weather, with the heat and the humidity and a lot of things, but I want to really express my appreciation to physical plant for all the things that they did. And this is just a small list of things that happened in the summer. Again, a lot of our physical plant requests to Rod's area from academic affairs are coming in the way of establishing our research enterprises and our research labs. So we had a lot of continued work done by both biology and chemistry and physical science in Reynolds Hall to create new research labs, many of which are faculty research labs with small student groups. We are creating a new physics lab in the annex, a physics research lab. We more than doubled our snake lab. We have 186 snakes on campus now. So that makes us really one of the largest herb labs in the country, really, not many. So we're having real, I'm gonna say global impact on our research in that area. A new rat lab, which we haven't had before for research purposes.
Are those mutually dependent?
We talk about it all the time over there, about are they gonna be co-located? Is David gonna save money on food if he's eating the render's rats? So we'll see if we can have any efficiencies there, you know. Don't tell Aya Cook I said anything about that. It's like, Plaster had a renovation of all faculty offices. We also relocated from Plaster the African art collection to the library in a very, very large area because we are very intent on creating sort of an exhibit, museum studies, living learning lab that is surrounding that African art collection. So we have the space to really do that now. We're very excited about that as well. Our courtroom is almost ready. Across the street in criminal justice, we were able to get a little grant money unexpectedly at the end of last year. We made a courtroom, which I am so excited for you all to see. It's going to be great. So Nick will use it for mock trial, and criminal justice will use it, and some of the social services programs will use it, and it's just really one of a kind and phenomenal. The Gibson Center, we talked a little bit about it, Academic Affairs Subcommittee, but has far exceeded all expectations in terms of program growth, student enrollment, space needed, community engagement, development of good faculty, expansion of staff. So again, you will all be receiving, if you didn't already, this morning an invitation to an open house at the Gibson Center. We could not be more excited or proud at what's already happened over there. Dr. Schooler hosted Missouri Hospital Association gathering for people from all over the state, and they were just also impressed with what is already occurring. So I am more than thrilled for you all to be able to go over there and see it in October when there's an open house. Of course, go anytime. They're very proud and excited to show it off, but it's already a phenomenal success, far exceeding expectations. And then we were able to obtain, through university funding, 13 new upright Steinway family pianos for our practice rooms. We had an inventory done. Steinway came in from New York and sent some to inventory, and we had a lot of really, really old pianos that were not old like antique old, but old like junk old, you know? So we really needed to replace them, and so thanks to Dr. Marvel's support, we were able to do a big purchase. So it was quite a grand event to see all of those pianos being unboxed and moving in, but that has really been phenomenal. And what we are looking to, I'm not sure we're going to ever be able to ultimately achieve this, but we would like to become one of the very few all Steinway schools, all Steinway universities in the United States. So we're working toward that diligently and prudently, see if we can accomplish that. It's a long-term goal. On the back, just a couple of other things. We have started a brand new initiative in an effort to enhance succession planning for various levels of leadership at our campus called the Southern Supervisor Academy. It's led by HR department, and it has been, we've just had one class. It's an actual class. You go to this class, you have homework, it's on Blackboard, you do your assignments, you participate in class, you get a grade in it, But we have 56 individuals from across campus participating in this Leadership Academy from all areas and all divisions, and going far, far down to those who are just identified as having supervisory and leadership talent. So it's the first time I've ever done anything like this, and I think it's really going to be very, very helpful to future-proof our organization in terms of making sure we have experienced and capable leaders. Our strategic plan continues to go well. As you know, this is the year that we are our first year of action. So we have identified the sub-goals every unit. And there are 56 units that self-identified as singular units and that have identified sub-goals. So the retention 1A plus 3 additional. So this is the year we're collecting baseline data, tracking activity, figuring out what we're gonna do. And so the strategic plan implementation part is going very well. And then finally, I'm just, could not be more pleased or excited to share with you all our focus on faculty. You've seen this before, but it was more like a piece of paper, and now it's like a book. So we are delighted. It represents the enormous number of scholarly and intellectual activities of our faculty, publications, research, innovations, advances in wisdom in a variety of different fronts. And Whitney McGrane puts this together for us. And it's a hard work and a labor of love, but every day when we see something that we can add to focus on faculty, we get very excited about it. And I think it really very much represents the enormous talent and capabilities and contributions of our faculty here. So we're delighted. The last thing I want to say is we have always had an advising award and a teaching award. This year, for the very first time, we have introduced a research award. It is determined collectively, the recipients are determined collectively by the deans. And then from academic affairs, we do a cash prize. And our first 2 recipients were Dr. Howarth from English, but also the honors program, who has written a variety of books. Has one coming out right now on movies you need to see before young adulthood, and it's being promoted pretty heavily on Amazon right now. And then our other recipients, Dr. Penning of the 186 Snake Lab, who obviously is really regularly on national and global media and has really done some groundbreaking research, but more valuably has brought a large number of students into his lab and really changed their lives and their future trajectory. So if you want to see them, they will both be there tonight at their Thursday, and I hope you do come enjoy it and take part. So thank you. I'll be happy to address any questions if you have.
Thank you, Dr. Carson. Are there any questions of Paula? Thank you again.
Thank you.
We'll move on to Mr. Fullerton for his report.
Just to highlight a couple things that you have in front of you there, to piggyback on what Dr. Carson was talking about with research. We have 2 students that received an international award this summer. They actually were selected to present at a national conference in the spring, and then from that national conference we're actually selected to present at an international conference. And I would love to tell you that I understand anything that they presented on, but I don't. But one of those people, Gil Johnson, is with us today. I want to also point out that these folks, again, when we talk about research, many times you think that this is all these students are doing. Gil Johnson and Whitney Bludgett are tutors in our tutoring center, so they're tutoring other students, and they both also serve on the Student Senate. Gil is actually our Vice President for Student Senate. And you can see by the award, they were presented an award that has only been given one other time, if I'm correct, Gil, in 2014 to the New York College of Osteopathic Medicine. So it's the only time that students, prior to this year, that a school in the U.S. has received that award at this international competition in London. And so we just want to congratulate them, and to piggyback on what Dr. Carson said, there are so many exciting things happening here at Missouri Southern that people take for granted. So Gil, congratulations. And Gil would be happy to explain to you his research. He's explained it to me 4 times, and I'll leave it at that. You've heard me talk about it the last couple of meetings. We tried something different with the enrollment confirmation. We spend a lot of time chasing students, honestly. Are they here through the admissions office all the way through the classrooms? And so this last year, multiple departments across campus worked on an enrollment confirmation, inquiring of the students, making sure they're really here, making sure that we're not paying financial aid dollars out for someone that's still on a roster that inadvertently shouldn't be, and those sort of things. Through a process and about 15 different offices working across the first several weeks, and actually more than that, months of before school started, we were able to identify 4,958 students actually confirmed their enrollment. I actually thought if we got half of the student body to confirm their enrollment, that was a target for us. So having almost 5,000 students was amazing. There's a lot of offices that work diligently on this, but I just wanted to give you some of the ideas and things where these people are digging in. It's not just running reports and looking at reports. They were looking at things like the faculty submitted rosters to see who was there first week of class, who wasn't there. So the faculty were involved. Financial aid, did the student fill their financial aid paperwork out? Had they been to the bookstore, and was there activity on that? Was there activity in the residence halls? Was there, if they had a residence hall contract, was there activity on their meal plans? And so looking at about 50 different metrics to determine, are those students really here, so that we're not wasting time and resources in trying to reach out to students that are currently here and sitting in class versus students that haven't finished their paperwork and those things. Of all the students enrolled, we got down before the third week, the week prior to census, there were 20 students that we had not had contact with out of the entire student body. So we want to say thank you to all the groups. Admissions was part of that, financial aid, registrar, bursar, the ACTS office, student success, residence life. There's a multitude, so we will forget those. But again, an initiative started on campus by the different departments, not the administration, that is making it easier for our students and helping the university track our students. So I just want to say thank you there. I'll leave you the numbers there. I know we were talking in the budget audit committee about some financial aid numbers. And Linda's already alluded to the finance report. We processed the first round September 6th. $4.7 million went out the door to over 2,000 students in just that run. We will process some each week, but that gives you an idea of what we were processing. We had talked earlier with some of you about e-refunds versus paper checks, so we gave you a breakdown of the amount of dollars and the students involved in that as well, to give you an idea there. On the back page, there's several things that I'll leave to you there. One thing I did want to brag, and you saw moving as we moved into the room today, Career Services had their Networking 101, which is another fantastic event, but I wanted to brag on their Community Day event. We had an all-time record number of employers and vendors from the community. Over 140 area businesses showed up on Community Day to welcome our students, faculty, and staff back to the campus during the first week of school. They had free food, free giveaways, you name it, and the students and faculty staff were able to enjoy that. So we want to say thank you to those vendors, and thank you to everybody involved with that, and thank you to Career Services for hosting that for us. With that, I would entertain any questions.
Are there any questions of Mr. Fullerton? Thank you, Darren. Faculty Senate President Dr. Wilson.
Thank you. So at our June board meeting, we had not yet filled our full executive committee of Senate, but that is now full. So I was pleased to announce that Nick Linderman for criminal justice will be our president-elect, and we confirmed that Jean Bolthart from mathematics would serve as secretary. And then, of course, last time we mentioned that Jim Lyle from theater is our parliamentarian, and Bill Fisher from history is our at-large member. And of course, Grant Latham is past president. So it's good to have a whole team assembled, and I'm looking forward to working with them. They've already invested a lot of hard work for the semester. We had our first series of meetings in late August and early September. to lay out plans for the year and what issues and discussion points that we will be looking forward to working on. And so we also appointed liaisons to all of our committees, and those liaisons are calling first meetings. So committee work is started on the campus and is going well. We only have a few, I think, slots to fill still for that to be fully underway. More largely, as Senate, we talked about a couple of other issues that we will be looking forward to for this semester, continuing to talk about promotion and tenure. As you remember, in June, 5 of the 6 proposals that Faculty Senate passed did come to the board, and so we're continuing to work with the administration on the 6th one about handbook choice when faculty go up for promotion. And then also looking forward to hearing about the process that will be used to select Dr. Marvel's successor. We anticipate a successful year, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Dr. Mauser? And let me ask you, Rebecca, is it Mauser or Moser?
Mauser.
Mauser. I don't want to mispronounce that too many more times. All right, are there any questions for Dr. Mauser? Thank you for your report. So I believe this is Ms. Forsyth. That was easy for me to say Forsyth. I believe this is your first meeting with us.
It is, yes.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And the floor is yours.
Thank you. The Staff Senate filled its secretary position with Nathan Hicks from the he's the admissions counselor and campus tour coordinator. And Diana Fordham in the distance learning instructional designer will be our parliamentarian of the year. Our elections committee presented quarterly service champ awards to 3 outstanding staff members, and those are Candace Logan, administrative assistant for Project Stay, Melissa Harrison, advising services coordinator and data specialist in ACTS, and Wendy Bruner, communications specialist in admissions. And our next quarter of service champs, the nominations will begin October 1st for that. Also in October, the Community Service Committee will begin taking applications for the Angel Tree. And if anyone's not familiar with this project, this is an amazing service project on campus where Pell eligible students can apply to receive gifts for any of their children under the age of 18 in the households. And these names go on a nice little tree outside of the president's office, and the campus community can take a name or multiple children's names off the tree, purchase gifts. We have a nice day where we volunteer to wrap presents. Everyone is welcome to come to as well. And then those gifts are given out at Southern Lights in December. Typically we have a cap of 75 children that we attempt to receive donors for, but last year we had enough donors to give gifts to 107 children, so hopefully we can do just as well this year. It's a fantastic project. And then our final item to report on is we recently conducted an all-staff survey. This went out to all 350 staff members on campus. We had a tremendous response rate. 134 staff members completed the survey. It's a 38% response rate, which we're quite pleased with. That survey is now closed, and we'll compile a report to share with our fellow senators and with President's Council. And maybe at our next board meeting, we can share some of the projects. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Ms. Forsyth? Hearing none, thank you for your report. And now, Student Senate President, Ms. Schultz.
Yes, thank you. First, I wanted to start off by saying thank you to everyone who helped the Lions Den project with student affairs and business affairs. Really appreciated getting that done. Also, we did have a foundation board member who did make a $1,500 donation towards that, and we're very appreciative. And also physical plan, who helped paint the Lions Den and get that done. It was during the end of the week, so I imagine it was kind of difficult doing that with all the students around, but we're very appreciative that they did. Let's see. Also, the hydration stations, I mentioned it last meeting, I believe, and they're finally in. They are not put up yet, as you know, there's a lot going on, but they are here, so we'll see when that gets underway, but I'm excited to get that going. And basically, we just last night swore in all the new senators, so we're just starting to get this year underway for us, so we'll have more to report next meeting and see where we go from there, but I'm very excited to start this year.
Are there any questions for Ms. Schultz? Thank you for your report, Sarah. Now to board committees. We had 2 meetings this morning. I'll start with the academic affairs and Governor Whiting.
Yes, we had a good meeting today. It's the first time I'm taking over as the chair, so I was on the budget committee and did a little swap, and now I'm over to academic affairs. So just a couple updates. I know we've got a program later on the agenda where we're going to talk about empowering you. So we did discuss that a little bit, but I'll kind of pass that because we're going to get the details following later on. One of the items we went over was the fast track program. Most of the board members may remember this. It was out in the news media this summer, where the governor is offering funds to support adults to continue their education if, one, they're over the age of 25, or they've been out of school for 2 years. So there is some funding with that now in the state of Missouri. I think the details are not all worked out. But obviously that rolled out this summer, and so we have, I think Paula mentioned, we have maybe 10 to 12% students that may be in the age range of over age 25 that could potentially qualify for funds to help with their educational needs. So it could be a wonderful program once all the details are worked out, and we could have some students that could benefit from that. Otherwise, just a few minor details. We did get to see the faculty handbook updates that they've been working on. The board approved those back in June, but we were able to get the full handbook here if any other members of the board would want to see that. It was a lot of work by a lot of people for many, many months to finalize it, but it looks as though we've got several issues and things lined out and ready to go moving forward. And then we also got an update from Dr. Schuler on the healthcare update for the Gibson Center, and they covered that a little bit. There's an open house coming up October 1st from 10 to 12 a.m. If you wanted to see that or attend that, and then snacks will be provided, from what I understand. So that's my report.
All right, thank you, Governor Whiting. Are there any questions for Anita? All right, thank you. And with the Budget Audit Committee, Governor Haley.
Yes. In our meeting this morning, we talked a lot about the new residence hall project, looked at some conceptual designs and then the layout, and then also the financing component of the bonds. So we look to bring a bond resolution forward for the full board at our next meeting in November. So hopefully that project continues to move forward pretty quickly. And then we did an update on the Perkins loan funding project. The federal government has decided to close out that program, so just making the board aware that that program will be coming to an end, and we will try and wrap that closure of that up at the end of this fiscal year. So that will require us to make a payment back to the federal government. So once we have those final numbers, we will present those for the board for review. And then just some other RFPs we're looking to help be more efficient in our energy use. And so we will continue to work through those RFPs and get a submission for the board for approval. That is my report.
Any questions for Governor Haley? Thank you, Carlos. President Marble, I believe everything's been said, but you've not got a chance to say it yet.
Let me repeat it. Thank you. I always start off with the state budget, where we think we might be at this point. I think conventional wisdom is certainly that Governor Parson will continue with his focus on workforce development and infrastructure. That's been the keystone to what he's done so far. But how much money I'll have to work with, I think, is anyone's guess at this point. But the consensus revenue estimate for the 21 years will be out till December or January. But right now they're looking at perhaps a 1.5% increase in revenue, which is not that much. So I'm not sure exactly where it'll all go, but hopefully higher education can get their piece. COFI, the Council on Public Higher Education, met recently, and we were talking about what the priorities for next year might be, and there will be several, obviously, but one that looks like is going to come back with some vigor is campus carry, and trying to pass a law that provides that any student, anytime, any place can carry a weapon. COFI's position has been and will continue to be, we think it should be the board's decision of each institution. That's why you're appointed or elected, depending on if it's community college or university. And you should probably just make those decisions. So I'm not sure where that'll go or what the governor's opinion would be if some legislation did pass. Also want to return to the Department of Higher Education, which you know is sort of not really merged, but took over part of Economic Development's workforce training. And they have moved to the Truman Building from the Jefferson Building. And their acronym DUDE is one I'm going to have a hard time getting used to. But I think that the move and the combination of those two departments is what slowed down some of the work on. You heard Governor Plotnick talking about the fast track scholarship. And we didn't have good information on the fast track scholarship even a week before school started. So being able to get students into the program was pretty difficult, truthfully. The coordinating board for higher education, they've been working for several months on a new equity formula for the distribution of state appropriations, something they call True Up. We thought that it was a final decision would come this month because there are really three models: the Delaware model, which kind of leans heavily toward research, professional programs, and graduate programs. NCHEM, National Council for Education Management, they had a model that leans more heavily toward Pell and student numbers. And then a compromise model, which is just exactly what you think it would be. It's a mix of the two. And I thought the compromise, frankly, we would have gained on any of them. We looked at all of the models out there. We would have gained no matter what because we're so low in the first place. But the compromise model looked like it was a lead pipe cinch to be passed this month. It did not, because a last minute proposal came out of the community college sector to do something even different. So they tabled it, they'll be looking at it at future meetings. So I'm not sure where that's going to go. I just want to take a moment too, right? You've heard a little bit about this, but Empowerment U in Oceana this semester, you're going to hear presentations just in a few moments, but I wanted to take a moment to thank Nick and the Culture Committee for what they've done the work they've accomplished to get this second stage moving from GGOE to Empowerment U. So Nick, please pass along to the Culture Committee how much we appreciate that work. And the Oceana semester, Dr. Stebbins has done a great job of that for years and years, but this year we had and we did, I guess last year too, had a reception in the art department that was, I thought, just brilliantly put together by Frank Dishker and Christine Bentley. So I think they need to be recognized for sure. And then Chelsea Conley and Kevin Grind helped put together the refreshments, and it was a terrific reception and a great job by all. So please pass along your thanks to those folks for me. That'd be my report.
Any questions of Dr. Marble?
Well, I might have one thing. Let me have one last thing I didn't write down here. We did in the last few days or last week or so, lost a faithful patron. Bob Corley passed away. He was a wonderful friend at this university, and there will be a memorial service for him on campus Friday, February 27th at 2 p.m. in Corley Auditorium. Excuse me, September 27th. What did I say?
February.
Well, that's not right. September 27th. That's not even funny. At 2 p.m. In Corley Auditorium, which is in Webster Hall.
Okay. I asked if there's any questions.
You did.
Okay. Were there any?
Yes, February and September. Properly.
All right. Dr. Carson, is there any old business to come before this body? All right, Dr. Carson, do you have any academic policy proposals today?
No, thank you for asking. I have no academic policy proposals this month.
Do you want to introduce me?
Nick Nicoletti is here with us to talk about the conversion from GGOE to Empowerment U.
Good afternoon. How are y'all doing? Thank you for inviting me. So, just a few things from Empowering You. So, as you know, the Great Game of Education, the very successful open book management and employee engagement initiative is being rebranded. And the new name is now called Empowering You with you. So it's like a play on university, but also a play on empowering the individuals here at Southern. And so I just want to talk a little bit about the rebranded names and then some things that are going on with the committee. So Empowering You is the new name. Instead of critical number, we will go with critical metric. Okay, so it's pretty similar, but metric is actually a much more Six Sigma kind of academic sounding. Many of these are, and I think that's a good thing. The huddle is now a check-in. The huddle rhythm are now check-in schedules. Mini games are now process improvement challenges, PIC for short. And then the mini game effect will be these challenge impacts, and then all of our scoreboards will be called dashboards. So the name and nomenclature changes are not radical, they're not that much different, but they are sort of rebranded in a different way. I think what's even more exciting is to talk about some of the things that we're doing as a committee and that is upcoming. Just so everybody knows, September 15th was the comment period. It ended on September 15th. So the new nomenclature is pretty much what we're going to be using, so that's exciting. Along with the rebranding, we are running a new critical metric in parallel with the old critical metric. So the old critical metric was operating cash, right, that free cash flow. The new critical metric, which is operating in parallel with it, which gives the academic side a focus here, is strategic goal 1A. Which, as you guys know, is 66% year-to-year, fall-to-fall retention by 2023. The last number for the last cohort recorded was 61%. So we've got time that we can get there. To go along with this, the Empowering You focus is shifting from the financial side, which is still important, and we know it's important, but it's shifting towards the student success side. So with that, we are going to talk about retention rates, graduation rates, and I just want to stress how those things flow into the finances as well. So if we're able to retain more students and bring more students to graduate within 4 and 6 years, we will see that reflected in our finances as well. So the exciting news is student success gets us to the same place that we were already trying to get when we were having sort of financial struggles. A couple really awesome things happening. And so one of the things that Empowering You is doing is creating a manual, a training manual from the ground up. And so what this will do is this will help with the onboarding, right, from ground up. So other institutions, if necessary, would be able to look at this manual and from the ground up implement what we've got going on. But even more importantly than that, this manual will help us diffuse how to implement this on our campus and really solidify what this program means to MSSU and how our school, right, has really made it an embedded part of our culture. So we're really excited about the training manual. Along with that, there will be a complete website revamp, and so everything on the website will start shifting over. Great Game of Education will be discussed as it was done in the past, right, as though it happened to our university. But everything moving forward will be Empowering You, and that will be how we treat that initiative. And then just two other really amazing things happening on the metric side. So we already have a Microsoft Business Intelligence dashboard that allows us to track student retention in pretty much real time, or sorry, student advising in pretty much real time. So I don't know if you guys have seen this, but it allows you to drill down to advisor, the students under the advisor, and whether or not those students have been enrolled in classes. And so departments have already been using this tool to track their advisees, to play process improvement challenges on those things and track those metrics. And I think that is an amazing tool. In addition to that, we are working with institutional effectiveness, academic affairs, IT, and Medina student success to come up with a new dashboard which will actually allow us to use business intelligence to track fall-to-fall retention, but also fall-to-spring retention. And in addition to that, it will allow us to track variables that are correlated with retention, like GPA, ACT, the number of credit hours that a student is taking. And so when that's completed, that will really allow faculty, again, this thing updates pretty much every day, so in real time, but it doesn't change that much, but it'll still be updated as such, track students from semester to semester, and also track the correlates of retention. And with that, we'd be able to improve retention, not just on a school level, but particularly and hopefully on an individual level, and eventually come up with some really interesting forecasting models that can help this university move forward. So that's the report. I am the Empowering You Coordinator. That is my title now that we've decided on. And so I'm really happy to field any questions you have, but that's the direction we're moving.
Are there any questions of Dr. Nicoletti?
Great job, Nick.
Thank you.
Nick,
Thank you.
Teach your class now. I'm research my
your passion is contagious, Dr. Nicoletti. Thank you for your report. Is he leaving?
Yeah, he has class.
Oh, you have class?
I do. Research methods.
There you go.
We're talking about hypothesis testing today, so that's plenty of class. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Dr. Stebbins, Chad Stebbins, I think everyone probably knows Dr. Stebbins, but he's here to talk about the Oceana semester, which is off to a great start.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity to talk about our theme semester programs, which I believe are one of Missouri Southern's signature programs, in existence for 23 years now, and I've been involved in 22 of the 23 theme semesters. Missed the first one because I was still in the communication department. But as you know, we choose a different country or region every fall semester to focus on. And the faculty now select the country or the region. Originally, it was Dr. Leone who would call me into his office and he'd say, we're going to do these next 4 in a row. And then he said, get to work on it. And so now we kind of take it year by year and we try to pick a country that's important, that's in the news. And so we've been very fortunate with some of our selections. In 2011, we chose Egypt, and that was the year of the Arab Spring and all the turmoil there in the Middle East. And 2014, we did Turkey, and that's when Prime Minister Erdogan was elected president, and there was a lot of tension with the Kurdish population. And 2016 was Great Britain, right as Brexit was occurring. Of course, that's still in the news. 2017, Korea semester. We all remember those tensions on the Korean Peninsula. And so the Globe was very kind to us about a month ago, ran an editorial saying we had a knack of picking just the right country or region, and keep your eye on Oceania. And so there's no guarantee that something's going to erupt in Oceania, but you never know. So we don't always, come up with the perfect country or region. So this is part of our statewide international mission. We are charged by the state with providing every student with a global experience. And of course, we have, I think, a pretty robust study abroad program, but not every student is able to take advantage of our study abroad opportunities. So with the theme semester, we bring the world to the campus. And virtually every student is touched or reached by the theme semester. And by the time a student graduates, he or she would have been exposed to 4 or 5 different countries or cultures. So this is Oceania, 14 countries, which are listed inside your brochure there. And I don't think I could stand up and recite all 14. But obviously we're going to focus on Australia, New Zealand. Those are the primary 2. But 2 weeks ago, we had a very interesting program on the Marshall Islands. We had the executive director of the Arkansas Coalition for Marshallese, based in Springdale up here, who told us the largest population of Marshallese outside of the Marshall Islands is in Northwest Arkansas. They've all migrated here for jobs with Tyson's and Walmart, and they have particular challenges, learning the language, access to health care, that type of thing. We've been fortunate every year to have faculty with expertise in the particular country. We always bring in quite a few outside experts, but it's great when our own faculty have that expertise and can be used. So you're going to hear from a couple who are presenting this semester shortly. We have 30 events this semester, plus 11 films spread throughout the semester, usually 2 or 3 events every week. Today, there's an Australian on campus living in Los Angeles now. His name is J.J. Wolf, and he specializes in making those Australian meat pies and sausages. So he's going to be downtown tonight at 4th and Main for Third Thursday, letting people sample his meat pies, and then presenting again tomorrow at noon in Corley Auditorium. So we try to provide a lot of culture, a lot of history, political affairs. Several of our departments get heavily involved: art, music, and theater. English department does readings. Biology department is active this year, social science department. So we appreciate that it's a campus-wide theme semester. A couple of other things. I mentioned 11 films. We're showing 6 of those on campus and 5 of those at Bookhouse Cinema on Broadway. And those are on Tuesday night. All of our events are free and open to the public except the Southern Theater production. So this is the first year we've partnered with Bookhouse, and they open up their restaurant on Tuesday evening. They're typically closed on Tuesdays. Theater's dark, but they allow us to show five of our films. And Tuesday night it was packed at Bookhouse. They had to bring in extra chairs to accommodate all the people. So that's been a great partnership with us. You know, getting people in a different venue. It's really completely different seeing a film in Cornell Auditorium as opposed to Bookhouse, which only seats 47 people. Next fall is going to be the Caribbean semester. So this will be next year will be the 3rd year in a row that we focused on a region as opposed to a particular country. And I mentioned that faculty make the decisions. There's kind of 2 schools of thought among the faculty. Some faculty think we should start repeating countries that we've done before. China is the only country we've ever done twice. We haven't repeated any other country. And some faculty feel, well, maybe we should go back and do India, Japan, or Russia again. Another faculty think, no, we've done those countries. Let's continue to explore new countries. I don't think we're ever going to run out. You know, there are over 200 countries, so, you know, we've got still plenty more to choose from. But again, it goes back, is the country important, relevant, in the news? So I doubt we're going to have a Malta semester, a Liechtenstein semester, Luxembourg semester. We'll probably stick to the ones that are more important. So I mentioned that we have faculty who are presenting this semester. One is Dr. Jason Willand from biology, and Jason presented 2 weeks ago on the Great Barrier Reef. And you can't have an Oceania semester without a talk on the Great Barrier Reef. So Jason's just going to come and give a brief summary of what he talked about in his presentation and how the Great Barrier Reef is in imminent danger.
Thank you, Chad. Good afternoon. So I gave my talk a couple weeks ago on the Great Barrier Reef, and I kind of had a nice little title to try to catch it called Diversity in Dying, What Does the Future Hold? And I basically kind of started the talk by outlining the diversity of organisms that you would find on a reef, both invertebrate and vertebrate animals. I like to refer to coral reefs as rainforests in the ocean because they are so incredibly complex, and there's so many species there that we know and that we don't know. And so most of my presentation focused on some of the known human-caused damage to the reef system, and then there's a lot of these new causes that are more of a global concern and maybe not necessarily just restricted to the Great Barrier Reef. And so when we look at some of the human known causes that have forced really the Australian government to implement new regulations, to be things like shipping. So historically, for about 200 years, Australia in the northeast part of the country is really known for timber, for iron ore, for natural gas. So there's a number of resources that have forced kind of shipping lanes. And so obviously with shipping lanes and so forth, not only do you get traffic and pollution in the water, but you also, because of a lot of the removal of vegetation and such, you start to get runoff into these water courses, then those flow into the reef system. So basically you get silting, you reduce water quality. It's a big area for fishing, as you can, or as you would expect, being that it is home to over about 1,500 species of fish. So there's been regulations in place for controlling number of catches of certain fish species. It's a very high tourist area, so it brings in over $4 billion to just Australian government every year. So it's in their best interest to be able to preserve as best they can, at least certain corridors. So the whole reef system really is become more of a patchwork of national parks, research areas, areas of kind of commercial use and such. So with all of this that we know that are human-caused problems, we have these kind of what I'm referring to as more global concerns. And so you can't visit a coral reef in anywhere on the planet where you're not seeing what we call coral bleaching. And so this has been in the news a lot over the last 20 years or so, and recently it's become really kind of the focus when we look at ocean research. And for those of you who aren't familiar with coral, we know that they make these kind of concrete-like structures, but these are tiny little animals. They're about 1 millimeter in size, and they're clonal, so they reproduce just by kind of basically budding off a piece of themselves, and they grow and they grow and they grow. And over time, they use natural elements in the ocean, calcium carbonate. They make this basically what I call concrete, and so that's what builds a reef. Well, we've been finding that as ocean temperatures are starting to warm, these animals that normally have a relationship with algae that photosynthesize and produce resources for them so they can grow, this increase in temperature causes the coral to become overactive with its symbiont, and so they produce toxins, and so the coral basically spits out these algae symbionts, and this causes them to go from these brilliant colors that we see, the oranges and yellows and such, that the symbionts have, to this kind of a white color. Now we find that if we don't have years of succession where these temperatures are causing this disruption, they might be able to recover. But in many cases, the coral can't recover from losing this extra source of energy from these symbionts, so they die off. So you get these huge stretches of reef that basically die. So if the coral die and these reefs become brittle, fall apart, basically then you have a cascade where everything that lived there is going to leave or is going to go extinct. So I spent a good amount of time talking about the bleaching and how this is kind of a global phenomenon, but it's also been, we've had 3 major events now on the Great Barrier Reef. The largest one is actually recently in the summer of 2016, which was the warmest summer on temperature, caused about 60, I think they said about 66 or 2/3% of the northern reach of the reef that died off. In addition to this, as kind of a large global threat, some of the other things that we're noticing on the reef, which is again going to impact other parts of the world, is what we call acid or ocean acidification. And this is a case where as we increase carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, this basically naturally sinks into the ocean. And so this is going to disrupt these animals' ability to create the skeletons that they use for building a reef. So what we're seeing, these animals are growing slower because of all this kind of extra carbon dioxide that is sinking in the ocean. So if that isn't enough, kind of bad news, I also talked about the water quality is an issue. So the silting from runoff in streams. We're seeing a whole bunch of new coral diseases. So there's been 30 diagnosed coral diseases, and there's, I think, 16 that they found on the reef. And so these are caused by these animals when they get stressed. Pathogenic bacteria can infect them and cause things like tumors and other things that you might actually almost refer to like ourselves. So I kind of wrapped up my speech kind of talking about, well, what is the outlook? This is a lot of kind of bad news. We know that if temperatures continue to rise in the oceans, which we're predicting about a 2-degree increase over the next 25 years or so, what is going to be the status of reefs? Well, it's possible that they'll shift. So these animals, when their juveniles are mobile, they will move. They can move to cooler waters. So we may just see coral reefs, instead of being centered in the tropics around the equator, actually start to migrate north or south to areas where the water temperatures would be a little bit more stable for them. So we may see reef shift. We know that we've had a lot of success with what we call coral farming, where individuals or groups are actually rearing coral like you would vegetables in a garden, and they're actually transplanting them to areas and basically kind of trying to recreate or replicate coral reefs in other areas, maybe along the lines of kind of these artificial reefs. So that was my presentation a couple weeks ago. Thank you. Very nice.
Thank you, Jason. And Southern Theater, just about every year, there might have been one exception, does a play in conjunction with the country or the region. And this year is no exception. So Dr. Jim Lyle, the director, is going to discuss Southern Theater's upcoming play, Hanging Man.
Hanging Man. Good afternoon, all. Our criterion typically is we try to find a play that is of the country or of the region by a playwright from there that has something to do with that, so that we can raise some issues and talk about some things. I think Korea and Turkey have been the only couple where we have been able to play so far. This year's great though. There is a burgeoning theater scene in Australia, but Australia might as well be on the other side of the world, right? It's sort of hard to stay in touch with all of that, but we've got a nice little bridge here. Hanging Man is by a playwright named Andrew Upton. Andrew Upton has been a screenwriter and an adapter and a translator. From 2008, he and his wife, Kate Blanchett, began a 5-year stint as co-artistic directors of the Sydney Theatre Company. Everything that has come out of that company and toured the United States has been terrific. Jeffrey Rush, Hugo Weaving, a lot of folks do their work down there. Hanging Man is a little bit interesting for us because it deals with issues that are alien to our experience and yet not. Little history, this will be in my talk next Monday, which is sort of focusing on what's called dramaturgy, which is the work you do around the script and the other things that you can learn. Hanging Man deals with the family of an artist who is a popular Australian artist, very famous, totally fictitious, but the mother of 2 of these 3 brothers has passed away, which has put something of the executorship in flux, who's dealing with these works and all of this. And the central action has to do with a 5-painting series called The Barbarians. And the one painting that is in the room, you never see it, which I think is brilliant. The one painting that's in the room where the play takes place is called Hanging Man. And it dates, or has its inspiration in the Australian colonial period. Governor Davey, to let the indigenous population know exactly the way things were going to work, had some panels painted. They look like basically a cartoon strip, which show a black man and a white man standing and holding hands, a black woman holding a white baby and a black woman holding a white baby, or whatever I just said. So we're going to live in peace and harmony. And here's how we're going to do it. Next one down. If a white man kills a black man, then we're going to hang the white man. And under that, vice versa. If a white man or a black man kills a white man, we're going to hang the black man. And so Hanging Man became the inspiration for this painting. It's horrifying to see this picture and realize how little that actually had to do with the truth of the way things were in Australia. It's also very stunning, the similarities between the experience of their indigenous people and ours. It's a very similar kind of history. And so who are the barbarians is a question that gets asked in this play. It has to do with this artist's legacy. One brother has been managing his works for nearly 20 years. All of a sudden, the mother has passed away and left another brother to bring that series back together for the first time, really ever, since its creation, and to gift it to the nation as a legacy from this artist. So who owns art? Why do we own it? Why is it art? What do we do with it? All of those questions are there. But also what's really kind of niggling at the heart of the thing is Hanging Man is the key to the rest of the series. But it is based on Aboriginal techniques. So now we're into issues of cultural appropriation, because you have this white artist who's made his reputation on what the indigenous people were doing. What I really love about it is the play roughly takes, the paintings were created in the 70s. And what you see when you Google up Aboriginal art, very colorful dots, different kinds of patterns, that really got started in the 70s. That's not the ancient stuff that you can see on the rocks, which is brilliant too. So this guy on the ground floor, taking someone else's culture and co-opting it for his own purposes. So it's all of those issues start sort of bothering you while you're listening to this. Plus this poor family, bless their hearts, they've all got their own kind of issues. And what I kind of enjoy about it is, as an audience member, it relieves us to a degree of the need to feel like we got to side with somebody. There are moments where we can sympathize because they're so human, they're so familiar, and yet they're none of them terribly nice people. And so you get to sort of just sit back and go, all right, let's see how this is going to work. So what I'll be talking about on Monday is Governor Davies' proclamation, what that meant, what the Aboriginal art is. And there are many references made to Australian history. Ned Kelly, a famous racehorse, and all those different kinds of things. And I'll be talking about those things as well, because it's just all the wonderful things that can spin out of this whole experience of the international semester. It's just the gift that just keeps on giving. And so please come and see us October 2nd through 5th, 7:30 over in the Walton. We would dearly love to have you. And thank you for your time.
Are there any questions of Dr. Stebbins? Chad, did I see on one of these sheets of paper, you've been hanging around here for 35 years? Or is that your dad?
He only made it 30.
Congratulations, and thank you for that presentation. Are there any other items under new business? I'll draw your attention to the future meeting dates. Our next one is November 21st, commencement December 14th. Before I call for a vote on executive session, Governor Flanagan's term has expired. It expired last month.
Yes.
Governor Flanagan has expressed to Dr. Marble and I that she's not going to seek reappointment. And so this is her last meeting. In fact, she told us over lunch that she's got her suitcase packed and it's in the truck and to hurry up.
I didn't say hurry up, but
But we want to take a couple of moments and recognize you and for the work that you've brought to this university, and thank you for that, and then allow you to have anything to say. We have a plaque back there. Before I read that, sitting around the board table, you kind of get to know what an individual's interests are as the questions that they ask of management and staff, and without exception, I think your questions have always been something about what's going on with the students. It's either enrollment or a particular academic program or how successful this is in this endeavor, and it's always been centered around the student. And I just want to recognize that and tell you that's been an observation of mine. Now let me get quiet.
Thank you. I wasn't expecting this. They caught me off guard. Usually you have to come back to do that.
You said you're not coming back. So let me read this. It says, to Tracy Flanagan, in recognition of exemplary service and dedication to Missouri Southern State University as a member of the Board of Governors appointed January 7, 2014.
Well, thank you. An honor and a privilege, and it's kind of remarkable, with the exception of Dolores and Chad. I didn't know any of you on this board and at the university, and I can sincerely say that I count you all as good friends now, and I really appreciate that. And with this leadership and all of you, I just think that the best days are still to come. It's in great shape now, but it's got a great future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's said.
I want a picture of you.
Hold your plaque up.
Can you turn that around?
Oh,
yeah.
She was serious.
I'm serious business. 1, 2, 3. Very nice, thank you.
Okay, and along that same theme, on Friday the 13th, that's probably ominous, Governor Franks notified me that he is going to resign from, or has resigned from the board. And I just want to read part of what he sent in his letter to me. He says his recent retirement has facilitated a change of lifestyle. Good for him. He says, Tammy and I are committed to a travel schedule that impairs my ability to serve and fulfill my obligation to my fellow board members. He says that, I'm just reading a bit of this, but I think it's important. He says that dramatic improvements at Southern are undeniable, including healthy enrollment trends, improved finances, collaborative governance structure, and ever-improving academic programs. I've asked Governor Franks to come back when his travel schedule will allow it, so we can more properly thank him for his service as well. So we have two very helpful individuals to this institution that are leading us, and we'll look to Governor Parsons to quickly appoint their successors so we can continue what we've got going on here. I think you have at your places, given those two departures, a new committee schedule. I think that's at all of your stations. Maybe not. I'll go ahead and read it for the record. For the executive committee, I will chair, Governor Hershway vice chair, Governor Oplotnik, and Dr. Marble. For the academic affairs committee, Governor Oplotnik will chair, Dr. Rosenberg vice chair, and Governor Hershway member. For the budget and audit committee, Governor Haley chair, Governor Elliott vice chair, and I'll be a member. For the personnel compensation committee, Governor Hershway chair, I will vice chair, Governor Haley and Governor Elliott will be members. Now, we have need for an executive session, and if you'll allow me, I'll read this into the record. RSMO 610.0213 relating to the hiring, firing, disciplining, or promoting of particular employees by a public governmental body when personal information about the employee is discussed or recorded. And RSMO 610.02111 relating to specifications for competitive bidding until either the specifications are officially approved by the public governmental body or the specifications are published for bid. Could I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Governor Oplotnik, do I have a second?
Second.
Governor Hershway. Or will you read the roll call?
Yes, T. Mark Elliott.
Here.
Tracy Flanagan. Here. Bill Gibson.
Yes.
Carlos Haley.
Yes.
Allison Hirschway.
Yes.
Anita Oplotnik.
Yes.
And Dr. Rosenberg.
Yes. Here.
We have a motion second and unanimous vote to go into executive session, so we will do just that. Thank you all for coming. 3:40.
Thank you.
43.
Yeah, you will. Thanks,